In 1973, the official verdict was Bruce Lee was killed by the aspirin. But there is no scientific evidence that he reacted.
On July 20th, 1973, the world lost a legend. Bruce Lee, the martial arts icon who redefined action cinema, died suddenly at just 32, at the peak of his global fame. The official report? A fatal reaction to a simple painkiller. But the truth is far murkier, tangled in a web of secrecy, scandal, and speculation that's kept fans and conspiracy theorists buzzing for half a century. Where did it happen? In the Kowloon Tong apartment of actress Betty Ting Pei, a private tragedy that exploded into an international mystery. For decades, whispers of hidden affairs, cover-ups, and even foul play have swirled around Lee's final hours. When Betty Ting finally broke her silence, her revelations cracked open new questions about Lee's private life, the woman at the heart of it, and the shocking events of that fateful night. Buckle up as we unravel the electrifying story of Bruce Lee's death, diving into the forbidden romance, the frantic cover-up, and the lingering questions that refuse to die. This is a tale of fame, loyalty, and a truth stranger than fiction. A star-crossed connection. Betty Ting Pei wasn't just any actress when she met Bruce Lee. Born in 1947 into a prominent Taiwanese family of doctors and generals, she was a rising star at Hong Kong's Shaw Brothers studio. With roles in romantic dramas like The Purple Shell, 1967, and Japanese musicals like The Yellow Muffler, 1972, she was carving a niche as a charismatic leading lady. But it was her 1970 meeting with Bruce Lee, arranged by producer Raymond Chow, that changed everything. Lee, already a martial arts supernova, was introduced to Ting in a professional setting, with his wife Linda present. Yet, as Ting later revealed, it was Lee who pursued her. The whole world adored him. How could I not? She said in a 2018 TVB interview. Their chemistry was instant, sparked by Lee's intensity and Ting's admiration for his relentless drive. What started as a friendship grew into something deeper, cloaked in secrecy. By 1972, during the filming of The Way of the Dragon, Ting was a fixture in Lee's off-screen world. She picked out his iconic outfits, joined him at studio meetings, and earned the nickname Little Dragon Girl among crew members. To the public, Lee was a disciplined family man, married with 2 kids. But behind closed doors, Ting became his confidant, sharing quiet moments away from the spotlight. She described their bond as one of mutual respect, not scandal. He saw strength in me that others missed, she said. Yet, their relationship was a ticking time bomb. Too risky to go public, too intense to ignore. This hidden connection set the stage for the night that would define both their legacies. A private world, a public facade. Bruce Lee's life was a high-wire act of fame and pressure. As he juggled blockbuster films and global adoration, his private world with Betty Ting offered a rare escape. Ting's later accounts paint a picture of routine intimacy, not tabloid sensationalism. She joined him at Golden Harvest Studios during Game of Death, sat through script sessions, and even helped choose his signature sunglasses. It wasn't just romance, it was companionship, she told Hong Kong Today in 2020. Lee confided in her about the strain of his superhuman image, from grueling workouts to studio demands. Ting, in turn, saw him as a genius under siege, not just a heartthrob. But secrecy came at a cost. Lee's marriage to Linda and Ting's rising career meant their bond had to stay hidden. We both knew the stakes, Ting admitted. One whisper could ruin everything. After Lee's death, she initially denied their affair at the urging of his family and Golden Harvest, a decision that fueled years of guilt. This private world, known to those close to Lee but invisible to fans, explains why his presence in Ting's apartment on July 20, 1973, wasn't a one-off visit but part of a year-long routine. It's a story of loyalty tested by fame, and it's about to take a tragic turn. The day everything changed. July 20, 1973, started like any other for Bruce Lee. At the height of his career, he was finalizing Enter the Dragon and deep into Game of Death. That morning, he made calls about a Warner Brothers deal and pitched an animated series to Hanna-Barbera. By afternoon, he was at Golden Harvest Studios, meeting Australian actor George Lazenby and producer Andre Morgan to discuss Game of Death casting. After a stop at Raymond Chow's office to plan a dinner meeting, Lee didn't head home. Instead, he went to Betty Ting's Kowloon Tong apartment, a familiar refuge. Ting recalls Lee arriving around 5 p.m., exhausted but upbeat, chatting about Game of Death and even floating a role for her. "I hesitated," she later said. "Our chemistry might have shown on screen." At 7 p.m., Lee mentioned a headache. Ting offered him Equagesic, a common painkiller she kept on hand. He took it and lay down in her bedroom to rest. When Chow called to check in, Ting found Lee unresponsive. Panicked, she followed Chow's advice to wait for him, recalling a similar collapse in May 1973 when Lee quickly recovered. Chow arrived at 9:45 p.m., but Lee still wouldn't wake. Ting's doctor, Eugene Chu, was called at 10 p.m. By the time an ambulance rushed Lee to Queen Elizabeth Hospital, he was pronounced dead at 32. The timeline seems simple: a meeting, a painkiller, a sudden collapse. But gaps fueled suspicion. Why the delay in calling help? Was the pill to blame? Or was something else at play? These questions ignited a firestorm that's still burning. The scandal that shook Hong Kong. Bruce Lee's death was a global shock, but the revelation that he died in a young actress's apartment, not his wife's, set Hong Kong ablaze. Within hours, rumors swirled. Raymond Chow and Golden Harvest initially claimed Lee collapsed at home with Linda, a desperate bid to protect his image. But journalists weren't fooled. An ambulance log revealed the pickup at Ting's address, and neighbors confirmed Lee's frequent visits. Tabloids went wild, branding Ting a femme fatale who allegedly poisoned Lee or slipped him an aphrodisiac. It was just a headache pill. Ting protested years later. "Why am I the villain?" The backlash was brutal. Ting faced bomb threats, public harassment, and the label Bruce Lee's murderer. Golden Harvest doubled down, pushing a narrative of a medical mishap, acute cerebral edema from a possible allergic reaction. But the damage was done. Ting's career tanked, and she went into hiding, dodging reporters and angry fans. "I was 26, and the man millions worship died in my bed," she said in 2021. The media frenzy turned a private loss into a public spectacle, with Ting caught in the crossfire. What's your take? Was this a cover-up to save Lee's legacy, or just chaos in the heat of grief? Drop it in the comments. The unequal fallout. Bruce Lee's private life was no saintly tale. Married to Linda Lee Cadwell, he was linked to multiple affairs, including Ting and rumored flings with actresses like Sharon Farrell. "I have plenty of girls," he reportedly bragged, shrugging off his dalliances. Yet, his image as a martial arts pioneer and family man remained untarnished. Ting wasn't so lucky. Vilified as a homewrecker, she bore the brunt of public rage while Lee's charisma shielded him posthumously. "He was a legend, I was a scapegoat," she said bitterly in 2019. Golden Harvest and Lee's family leaned on Ting to stay silent, protecting his brand at her expense. Some speculate Linda knew of the affairs but prioritized her kids and Lee's legacy. This double standard, Lee's charm excused, Ting's life destroyed, highlights the gendered lens of the scandal. Ting's silence wasn't just loyalty, it was survival. But it cemented her as the villain in a story she couldn't control, while Lee's complex private life slipped into the shadows. A life under siege. After Lee's death, Betty Ting's world collapsed. Hounded by media and fans, she moved between safe houses, checking on her daughter nightly out of paranoia. "I saw him die, and it broke me," she told Asia Weekly in 2020. Bomb threats and insults became her reality, triggering paranoia and later schizophrenia. Her 1976 marriage to Charles Hyung offered a lifeline, but it ended in 1980. By the 1980s, Ting quit acting, turning to Buddhism and vegetarianism for solace. "It was my path to peace," she said. She focused on charity, avoiding the spotlight, while Lee's films soared to mythic status. Ting, however, remained frozen as the woman where he died. Her silence, born of guilt and fear, only deepened the mystery. Breaking the silence. In 2018, at 78, Betty Ting finally spoke out on TVB's Unveiled Truths. "I can't hide anymore," she declared, detailing July 20, 1973. She confirmed Lee's visit, the headache, the equigesic, and the delayed call for help, guided by Chow's advice. They said I poisoned him, but it was a pill we all used, she insisted. Ting debunked aphrodisiac rumors and addressed the May 1973 collapse, suggesting an underlying condition. Doctors on the program floated epilepsy or a genetic issue, noting Lee's father and brother died similarly. It was heaven's will, Ting said, framing the tragedy as fate, not foul play. Her account shifted the narrative from scandal to human tragedy, a private bond cut short by an unexplained collapse. Question: does Ting's story clear the air or deepen the mystery? Share below. A legacy in question. Half a century later, Bruce Lee's death remains a puzzle wrapped in a legend. His films, The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Enter the Dragon, set the gold standard for action cinema, inspiring stars from Jackie Chan to Keanu Reeves. Yet the mystery of his final hours overshadows his genius. Was it a drug reaction, a hidden illness, or something more sinister? Recent studies suggest hyponatremia, low blood sodium, from intense training or a rare kidney issue, but no theory is definitive. The official cause, cerebral edema, feels like a placeholder. For Betty Ting, the tragedy defined her life. From promising actress to pariah, she rebuilt through spirituality, saying in 2023, "I've found peace, even if the world hasn't." Her story reveals not just a romance, but the human toll of fame's fallout. Lee's invincibility was a myth fans clung to, and Ting's silence protected it, at her cost. The truth? A mix of medical uncertainty, private choices, and a public desperate for answers. What do you think? Does the mystery endure because we want Bruce Lee to be immortal, or because the facts still don't add up? Drop your theories in the comments, and let's keep unraveling this legend. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. See you next time. July 20th, 1973, the day a legend fell. Bruce Lee, the martial arts icon who redefined action cinema, died at just 32, at the zenith of his global fame. The official story? A freak reaction to a painkiller. But the truth is a labyrinth of secrets, scandals, and unanswered questions that's gripped fans and fueled conspiracies for over half a century. The setting? A Kowloon Tong apartment belonging to actress Betty Ting Pei. A private moment that erupted into a global mystery. For decades, whispers of hidden affairs, frantic cover-ups, and even sinister plots have swirled around Lee's final hours. When Betty Ting finally broke her silence, her revelations didn't just reopen old wounds, they ignited a firestorm of new questions about Lee's private life, the woman at the center of it, and a night that changed cinema forever. Get ready for a wild ride as we unravel the electrifying saga of Bruce Lee's death, diving deep into a forbidden romance, a desperate cover-up, and mysteries that refuse to stay buried. This isn't just a story, it's a legend, a tragedy, and a puzzle that'll keep you guessing. A star-crossed connection. Betty Ting Pei wasn't just another actress when she met Bruce Lee, she was a spark ready to ignite. Born in 1947 to a prominent Taiwanese family of doctors, generals, and power players, Ting was a rising star at Hong Kong's Shaw Brothers studio. Her roles in sultry dramas like The Purple Shell, 1967, and quirky Japanese musicals like The Yellow Muffler, 1972, showcased her charm and ambition. But in 1970, when producer Raymond Chow introduced her to Bruce Lee, the martial arts phenomenon, everything changed. The meeting, with Lee's wife Linda present, was professional at first. Yet, as Ting later revealed on TVB's Unveiled Truths in 2018, it was Lee who chased her. "He was magnetic, millions adored him, and I was no exception," she said, her eyes still lighting up decades later. Their connection was electric, built on Lee's relentless intensity and Ting's awe of his vision. By 1972, as the Way of the Dragon dominated screens, Ting was a constant in Lee's off-screen world. She picked out his iconic yellow jumpsuit, tagged along to studio meetings, and earned the crew's nickname Little Dragon Girl, foreshadowing the Little Dragon himself. To fans, Lee was a disciplined family man with a wife and 2 kids. But behind the scenes, Ting was his confidant, sharing quiet moments away from the chaos of fame. It wasn't just romance, it was trust. she told Hong Kong Today in 2020. Their bond was a secret too dangerous to reveal, a high-stakes dance between public image and private passion. Viewer hook. Can you guess how this hidden romance led to one of cinema's biggest mysteries? Keep watching. A private world, a public facade. Bruce Lee's life was a pressure cooker. Global stardom, grueling workouts, and studio demands pushed him to the edge. Betty Ting's apartment was his sanctuary. Her accounts paint a vivid picture, not a scandalous fling, but a routine of companionship. During Game of Death production, Ting sat through script sessions at Golden Harvest Studios, helped choose Lee's signature shades, and listened as he vented about creative clashes and the toll of his superhuman physique. He was a genius under siege, she said in 2021. I was his escape. But secrecy was non-negotiable. Lee's marriage to Linda and Ting's budding career meant exposure could ruin them both. We lived in two worlds, Ting admitted. One for the cameras, one just for us. After Lee's death, she denied their affair at the urging of his family and Golden Harvest, a choice that haunted her. I felt I betrayed him by staying silent, she confessed. This hidden life, known to insiders but invisible to fans, explains why Lee's presence in Ting's apartment on July 20, 1973, wasn't a one-off but part of a year-long rhythm. It's a tale of loyalty, love, and the crushing weight of fame. Quick question, what would you risk for a love that could never go public? Drop your thoughts below. The day everything changed. July 20, 1973, dawned like any other for Bruce Lee. He was riding high, rapping Enter the Dragon and deep into Game of Death. That morning, he fired off calls about a Warner Brothers multi-picture deal and pitched a Hanna-Barbera animated series about his life, classic Bruce ambition. By afternoon, he was at Golden Harvest Studios, meeting Australian actor George Lazenby and producer Andre Morgan to discuss Game of Death casting. A quick stop at Raymond Chow's office sealed plans for a dinner meeting. But instead of heading home, Lee slipped away to Betty Ting's Kowloon Tong apartment, a familiar haven. Ting recalls Lee arriving around 5 p.m., drained but buzzing about Game of Death. He even suggested a role for her. I laughed it off, she said in 2020. Our chemistry would have been too obvious. Around 7 p.m., Lee complained of a headache. Ting handed him Equagesic, a painkiller they'd both used before. He took it and crashed in her bedroom. When Chow called to check in, Ting found Lee unresponsive. Panicking, she followed Chow's advice to wait, recalling a May 1973 collapse Lee had bounced back from. Chow arrived at 9:45 p.m., but Lee wouldn't stir. Ting's doctor, Eugene Chu, was called at 10 p.m. An ambulance rushed Lee to Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 32. The timeline sounds simple: a busy day, a pill, a collapse. But the cracks are glaring. Why wait so long for help? Was the pill a trigger? Or was something deeper at play? These gaps sparked a wildfire of speculation that's still raging. Challenge: spot the moment where this day went wrong. Share your guess in the comments. The scandal that shook Hong Kong. Bruce Lee's death was a seismic shock, but the bombshell that he died in a young actress's apartment, not his wife's, set Hong Kong ablaze. Within hours, rumors detonated. Raymond Chow and Golden Harvest spun a tale that Lee collapsed at home with Linda, a frantic bid to save his image. But Hong Kong's relentless press sniffed out the truth. An ambulance log pinned the pickup at Ting's address, and neighbors spilled about Lee's regular visits. Tabloids pounced, painting Ting as a femme fatale who allegedly poisoned Lee or dosed him with an aphrodisiac. It was just a headache pill. Ting protested in 2019. I was 26, and they made me a monster. The fallout was vicious. Ting faced bomb threats, street harassment, and the chilling label, Bruce Lee's murderer. Golden Harvest pushed a medical mishap narrative, acute cerebral edema from a possible allergic reaction, but it didn't quell the storm. Ting went into hiding, dodging reporters and furious fans. The man the world worshipped died in my bed, she told Asia Weekly in 2021. I became the enemy. Her career crumbled, while Lee's legacy soared. The media circus turned a private tragedy into a global spectacle, with Ting as the scapegoat. What's your take? Was this a calculated cover-up, Or just panic in the face of loss? Let us know below. The unequal fallout. Bruce Lee's private life was no secret to insiders. Married to Linda Lee Cadwell, he was linked to multiple affairs, from Betty Ting to actresses like Sharon Farrell. "I have plenty of girls," he reportedly bragged, waving off his flings with a grin. Yet, his image as a martial arts titan and family man remained bulletproof. Ting wasn't so fortunate. Branded a homewrecker, she faced relentless vilification while Lee's charisma shielded him even in death. "He was a legend, I was a villain," she said bitterly in 2020. Golden Harvest and Lee's family pressed Ting to stay silent, prioritizing his brand over her truth. Some believe Linda knew of the affairs but protected her kids and Lee's legacy. This double standard, Lee's charm excused, Ting's life shattered, exposed a stark gendered lens. Her silence wasn't just loyalty, it was survival in a world quick to judge. But it cemented her as the antagonist in a narrative she couldn't shape, while Lee's tangled private life faded into myth. Engage with us. Have you seen fame shield someone while another takes the fall? Share your stories. A life under siege. Betty Ting's world imploded after Lee's death. Hounded by media and fans, she bounced between safe houses, gripped by paranoia. "I checked on my daughter every night, terrified she'd stop breathing too," she told Hong Kong Today in 2022. Bomb threats and screams of "murderer" became her reality, triggering schizophrenia and deep trauma. Her 1976 marriage to Charles Hyung was a lifeline, but it ended in 1980. By the 1980s, Ting quit acting, turning to Buddhism and vegetarianism for peace. "It saved my soul," she said. She poured herself into charity, dodging the spotlight while Lee's films became cinematic scripture. Ting, though, remained the woman where he died, her life defined by a single night. Her silence, born of guilt and fear, only deepened the mystery. Inspiration alert. Ting's resilience is a story of survival. What's your take on her journey? Comment below. Breaking the silence. In 2018, at 78, Betty Ting stepped into the light on TVB's Unveiled Truths. "I can't hide anymore," she declared, her voice steady but heavy. She recounted July 20, 1973, Lee's arrival, the headache, the equagesic, the fatal delay. "Chow told me to wait, thinking it was like May," she said, referencing Lee's earlier collapse. "I panicked and it cost him." She debunked poison and aphrodisiac rumors, insisting the pill was routine. "We all used it, why blame me?" Doctors on the show floated epilepsy or a genetic issue, noting Lee's father and brother died similarly. "It was heaven's will," Ting said, framing the tragedy as fate, not foul play. Her story recast the scandal as a human drama, a private bond shattered by an inexplicable loss. Viewer poll: does Ting's account solve the mystery or raise more questions? Vote in the comments. A legacy in question. 5 decades on, Bruce Lee's death is a legend wrapped in a riddle. His films, The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Enter the Dragon, ignited a martial arts revolution, inspiring everyone from Jackie Chan to UFC fighters. Yet, the mystery of his final hours looms large. Was it a drug reaction, a hidden illness, or something darker? Recent studies point to hyponatremia from intense training or a rare kidney dysfunction, but the official cause, cerebral edema, feels like a half-answer. For Betty Ting, that night reshaped her life. From rising star to pariah, she found solace in spirituality, saying in 2023, "I've walked a peaceful road, even if the world hasn't forgiven me." Her story reveals the human cost of fame's fallout, a woman caught in a legend's shadow. The truth? A tangle of medical uncertainty, private choices, and a public hungry for myth. Lee's invincibility was a story we wanted to believe, but reality is messy. What's your theory? Does the mystery live on because we crave a perfect hero, or because the facts still don't fit? Drop your thoughts, conspiracies, and hot takes in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more dives into the stories that shaped our world. Who's next? Stick around to find out.